Welcome back to Liberty and Finance. As you know, we are live here at the Ruhl Symposium on Natural Resource Investing in Boca Raton, Florida, and we've been introducing to you a lot of the companies that are near and dear to Rick Ruhl's heart. You know Rick because he's been with us for years, every month here on Liberty and Finance. Today we're with Louis-Pierre Gignac. He is the president and CEO of G Mining Ventures, and it's a gold-focused company with a resource in Brazil. Louis-Pierre, the interest in gold has been very strong among our viewers because they're, like, I think, ahead of the curve. I like to think that way, and I think most of them probably find that when they talk to their family and they're the only ones who in the world in their room who can spell gold or whatever. But anyway, they're interested in it for stability as protection against kind of the crazy financial times that we're in and that we're heading into. And they're looking for it as a way to stabilize their portfolio and help them protect their retirement and so on. So as potential investors in G Mining Ventures, it would be great if we could back up the truck to what makes your company something special. We know that's an easy one because the reason we're here is because you've been hand-selected by Rick Ruhl to be part of his conference. That's why we're here. We're trying to meet the companies and find out, well, what was it that he saw in your company that attracted his attention as a contrarian investor. He always talks to us about how he looks for value before other people found it, because once it's obvious to most, well, then there's not the investment turnaround that you're looking for, but he's looking for that in your company. Why do you think he saw that in G Mining Ventures?
Yeah, no, that's a good place to start. If we backtrack, we created the company in October of 2020, so not that long ago. And we really created the company on the back of the team that we have. I come from G Mining Services, which is a consulting firm based out of Montreal that's been building projects, mostly gold projects for some of the leading companies. We built Fruta del Norte for Lundin Gold. We built the Marion Mine for Newmont, which is the world's largest gold producer. So we came to the realization that it'd be great to start our own company and build assets for our shareholders. So that's how we started. And so we essentially started with a bank account with investors wanting to put money in to go hunting for a project. So we bought the Tocantinzinho project from Eldorado. We closed on that acquisition in 21. We updated the feasibility study, and we're in construction. So in the mining space, we've moved at lightning speed. And so we're essentially a year away now from commercial production.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons when we talk with Rick about the potential shortfall of many metals, not just precious metals, but even base metals and rare earth elements. And he always talks about the basically dearth of exploration and development that's been happening for the past 10 to 20 years in the face of what's likely to be a multi-decade bull market in a lot of these metals. And so he's talked to us about it takes, I forget the exact term. Usually it's decades he's talking about before you can bring things online. So when you talk about a couple of years for things to really get moving, that's extraordinary.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, normally if you're going from scratch, going through a permitting process, doing all the studies, all the drilling, you're talking typically 10 years. And that's for a gold project. Some projects take much longer. And that's assuming that it's economic to start with, right? So I think that's why we were very attracted to this asset. You know, and at the same time, it's been a win-win for Eldorado. They kept a good equity stake in our company. So obviously felt that we would be creating value by developing this asset. So they've been a supportive shareholder through our financing process to put the capital available together to build this mine. We attracted La Mancha, who came in, took a 25% equity stake in our company. So that's a sign of confidence. But that's also their investment model. They typically take 25-30% stakes in companies, and they're long-term investors. So for us, that felt like it fit really well with how we want to grow this company. You know, for us, Tocantinzinho is a first asset that we want to use as a building block to create the next intermediate gold producer. So we know that La Mancha is going to be a supportive shareholder for us to keep growing this company.
And as you look forward, what are things that potential investors can look forward to in terms of goals that you're setting, the game plan, I guess, that you plan on carrying forward?
Yeah, definitely development stage companies these days have been, I'd say, frowned upon a little bit in the sense that, as we all have seen, inflation has been a factor when it comes to building things. So a lot of people have gotten their estimates wrong, where they, either didn't factor in all the inflationary impacts that has on their capex, their capital investment. And have had to refinance and find additional sources of financing. So that's always been a risk that investors have seen with development stage companies. I'd say in our case, we put in place a solid financing package. We're fully financed to get through our construction period and into commercial production. But on top of that, we're well advanced at this point. We're 36% advanced in terms of actual progress on the ground. But when you look at all the additional commitments that we've made on the project, we're closer to 70%, locked in terms of our capex. So what that means is we're not going back to market to issue more shares at this point. We're quite happy to push on to getting to cash flow and gold production next year. And when we reach that point, we'll be producing 175,000 ounces a year for the next 10.5 years based on our reserve that we have now. So this is a significant gold mine. This will be Brazil's third largest primary gold mine when we're done. So with that cash flow, obviously we will be investing in exploration. We have a very large land package, 966 square kilometers, and that's always a number that it's difficult to relate to, but to make it a little more spatial, like we have a mineralized trend on our property that gives us about 35 kilometers of strike length, and we know we have maybe parallel structures to that. So for us, we're setting the stone now of having this processing facility. We're building a transmission line into our project. So all that infrastructure is going to be in place. So any new discoveries is going to be tremendous incremental value. So that'll be our plan, obviously, is to push on exploration. This is an asset that didn't see a lot of exploration over the years for various reasons. So we feel very enthusiastic about just the organic potential of this property. And beyond that, we're seeing the gold space. A lot of companies are hurting for capital or having trouble advancing their projects. So we're going to be on the lookout for additional M&A opportunities, bring in additional assets into our company that we can develop.
And Rick has often talked to us about finding value before it's obvious to others, and that's the way you have advantages. You arrive early and you find out. It sounds like this field where you're working is a very significant magnitude, and the size, it sounds like it's massive. And what is it that you feel that your company is going to be able to do differently than maybe what was tried in the past there?
We have a different approach to building projects. We essentially have those capabilities in-house. So through our, call it, affiliate engineering business, we have all those technical capabilities, technical skills to do resource estimation, to do mine planning, to build mines, design flow sheets. So that's something that very few companies actually have. You look at some of the big mining companies, they typically outsource that work to engineering firms. But we have that internally. So we have that kind of additional IQ, I think, and really hands-on experience building things. So a lot of times, certain projects we can find savings in terms of rescoping how things should be built to generate savings and from a CapEx perspective. But it's also an evaluation assessment exercise that I feel we are quite good at.
Yeah, my past history, as our viewers know, is in engineering. We call that value engineering, where I come from, where you're trying to figure out how you can get the key results, the key business outputs that you're looking for at the most reasonable input or price. How you mentioned earlier in passing inflation and the impact that it has on building anything. Our viewers certainly have experienced that in their own personal lives, but also it's one of the reasons we're even talking about gold is people trying to protect themselves from the destructive effects of erosion of their purchasing power, of their earnings, their savings, their retirement, everything. So we're interested in the fruits of your labors there, of the gold, but along the way, how does a rising interest rate environment impact companies like yours?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the cost of our lending. So we do have, a lease, equipment financing structures in place for all the equipment that we're buying. With Franco-Nevada, we have a term loan. So obviously, that's going to increase our cost of capital. But I'd say it's really when you're trying to play catch up in terms of knowing what everything costs when you're building something. So that's where you think it's going to cost X, but it costs a lot more, and then you have to find that additional money to finish your project. So, I think in the grand scheme of things, that's during the construction phase. During operations, you're still facing that inflationary pressure of how do we maintain our operating costs to a certain level. So one thing that we've done is we've locked in our electricity price for the next 2.5 years on the project. We did this because, for one, the rate was very attractive. It was about 25% below our feasibility study cost. So we figured, look, that's just an easy win to lock in some savings. And as you know, mining is an energy-intensive business where we're grinding rock down to liberate gold, and so you can understand that's energy-intensive. So that's an important cost now that we've locked in a very attractive rate. So I think it's all about knowing your cost structure and managing where you can get some wins there. Obviously, fuel price is volatile, and you have to live with that one. But maybe as a final comment, we've seen inflation in Brazil really come down. They were quick to raise interest rates. So in country, the inflation rate is down to 3-4%, like pre-pandemic levels. So they've been very good at containing inflation.
We were here last year, you were here last year. What has happened to your stock price since last year's Rural Symposium?
Yeah, well, we've continued to deliver on our project, and our stock price has performed 30% since the last conference in July last year. So I think we've been doing well. 30%
increase, as opposed to most people having had a 30% haircut on their stock portfolio. So that's remarkable. Especially, it's been hard times for a lot of the mining companies. Are coming out now, starting to come out of a low time, and that's a time to get them on board as a contrarian investor, to make sure you take part of the right team. Something Rick always talks to us about is proven performance. And we'll put the links to the company website, your company website for G Mining Ventures, in the description of this video. So folks, look in the description, you'll see a link you can click on to get to gminingventures.com. And also the stock information if you become interested as a prospective investor. If people want to find out more directly from your company, where should they reach out?
Yeah, they should reach out through our investor relations team, Jesse Luernstein, or myself directly, either by email or by phone. Yeah.
All right, folks, well, we're missing you all here at the Rural Symposium, but you can still get access to the live streams and the recorded sessions for 6 months if you sign up quickly before the conference ends. You'll see a link to that also in the description of this video. And Louis-Pierre Gignac, thank you for joining us on Liberty and Finance.
Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you.
This is Kaiser Johnson with Liberty and Finance, and this is the Miles Franklin Weekly Special for July 24th through July 31st, 2023, while supplies last. And on this one, supplies may not last long, because this week we featured 2023 American Silver Eagles at just $6.99 over spot, our lowest price on Silver Eagles in more than a year. Since its first release almost 40 years ago, the Silver Eagle has been, without exception, the world's most popular bullion coin, which provides unparalleled recognizability and liquidity. It's 3/9 fine, comes 22 a tube, 500 to a box, and is available at just $6.99 over spot while supplies last. Finally, the Silver Eagle is IRA eligible. And if you'd like to learn more about a precious metals IRA, Call us, and we'll be happy to help you in that process. To order our specials or any of the many other options we have available, call us at 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.